A very good afternoon and welcome to the Blood Red podcast. I'm your host, Richard Garnett. With Rimmer gone and Squires and Gorst both off today, Reach have been forced to invest in some real bona fide middle-aged talent. With that in mind, I'm going to welcome the housewife's favourite, Liverpool chief reporter, Ian Doyle. How are you doing?
Okay. I'm just looking at the screen. You look like me with her, basically.
Well, this is look what you could have won.
Exactly,
Ian,
basically, that's it, yeah.
Is the main message.
How are you, anyway? This is your first time hosting, is it not?
Officially, yes. I did do one sort of a solo one in the COVID sort of era. It doesn't really count now. I didn't have this nice studio to deal with, so I'm going to go, I was going to say full on Terry Wogan. I'm not sure quite what I mean by that. But
also, you probably lost half the listeners who don't know who he was. So this can't fall down the little "we were born in the 1970s" kind of thing.
Well, with two men in the mid-40s, and I'm being kind there, that conversation could rapidly go south. So we'll try and keep it on brand. It's raining cats and dogs here in Liverpool today, unfortunately. So we'll try and bring a bit of sunshine to people's lives before the weekend kicks off. A very important game against Chelsea on Saturday. Saturday tea time. Would you call it tea time or dinner? What's your
tea
preference?
Time, isn't it? Come on.
Tea time,
We're up north, so it's tea time.
Fair enough. Well, as I say, it's raining cats and dogs. But speaking of cats, Liverpool are going to be without their Brazilian cat.
That is seamless. That's very good. Very good. I enjoyed that.
I had to pause while I thought of that.
Exactly. But, you got there eventually.
We'll be here all afternoon. No Alisson. No Alisson. And obviously you're. I was going to say Melwood. That's no longer in use for those type of things.
Nope.
You're at the AXA training ground this morning, where Arne Slot gave an update on Alisson, and it wasn't really good news, was it? What's the latest?
Well, it depends on what you regard as being good news. Once Alisson gets that injury, we mentioned about this on Wednesday in the podcast, doesn't look good if a goalkeeper has to go off just shortly after half-time when he's had to make a save. And we know from having watched it, you could tell while people going, he hit his knee when he's made the save, but it's because he had to run back, and obviously he's done his hamstring. Now, to what extent, Liverpool aren't really saying, but there was a report on Thursday night from elsewhere that said he could be out for 6 weeks, possibly even more. But when Slot was asked how long for Alisson, he didn't go that far. He kind of hinted that he may not be out for as long as that. He hasn't ruled out a swift return, but the reality is you kind of expect him to be out for what I would say is an extended period. I mean, he's not going to play against Chelsea. He's not going to go with Brazil to the Far East. They're playing South Korea and Japan. He wasn't named in the squad. That was on Wednesday, I think. And he won't be playing against Man United. That's the first game back after the international break. So then you think, well, he's probably not going to go to Frankfurt either. And suddenly you're going, well, let's see how things are going. But in terms of long term, again, Slot said he's not a doctor. He doesn't know whether this is the same kind of injury that he's picked up previously. But you have to be concerned that a goalkeeper who, in his second season, he was out for about two months, I think it was 2 months with a calf problem, which he picked up on the first game of the season. And then the last couple of seasons, he had a shoulder injury at one point, but that was only a minor one. But he's had hamstring injuries the last 3 seasons, this season, the last 2, sorry. So, and he was out for significant time both times. I think it was almost a year to the day that he picked it up last year because he got injured at Crystal Palace towards the end and had to go off, and he wasn't seen again until December. So you wouldn't be surprised if that's the case again. But as I say, Slot didn't really want to go down that particular road and rule him out for that long. But of course, what it does mean is that it's a chance for Georgi Mamadashvili, which is a name that I spent a long time practicing, and I seem to have got that one. I can certainly spell it. So
4 syllables.
It's enough. I haven't gone as far as to count them yet. But for him, it's an interesting one actually for Mamadashvili, because I wrote something the other day saying that if you look at someone like Kelleher when he's come in, he's not had, up until now, obviously he's at Brentford, he never had regular football in the first team for anybody, because obviously he came through the academy at Liverpool. So whenever he came in, it was off a spell of not playing for a particularly long amount of time. He obviously showed over time that he's more than capable of doing that. Liverpool won the league with him playing, I think, something like 10 league games last season. So, and that's why they ended up getting nearly £20 million for him. And we saw at the weekend that he saves a penalty from Bruno Fernandes, and Brentford beat Manchester United 3-1. So, but for Mamadashvili, he's a Georgia international. I know Kelleher was a Republic of Ireland international, but the difference is He spent the last 3 or 4 years playing every single week in La Liga, Mamardashvili. Still only 25, so there isn't going to be any concern of him not being fresh enough because they haven't played that many games this season. He's already made his debut at home against Southampton, and of course he played the last 35, 40 minutes against Galatasaray, and playing in Europe isn't anything new for him. Playing in big games like at Chelsea won't be anything new for him because he's played against Real Madrid for Valencia, against Barcelona, against Atletico Madrid, and they played the local derbies. I think it's Levante. I think Villarreal's quite close as well for them. And he's played in the European Championships for Georgia, so he's accustomed to this kind of thing. The only thing you'd say on Mamardashvili is that Liverpool supporters don't really know what to expect, and it will be interesting to see how he performs because the focus will be on him. Because if you look at the last couple of games, Liverpool probably would have lost by more if it wasn't for Alisson, because he made, certainly at Palace, he made a number of good saves, and he was in making one of his many one-on-one saves this time against Victor Osimhen that he got the injury. So big shoes to fill, but I think speaking to Slot, I don't think he's massively concerned that Mamardashvili isn't going to be ready or capable, because the reality is they spent nearly £30 million on an international goalkeeper last year to bring him in this year, and I think they think that he could be a long-term successor to Alisson, so this will be the first time for us to have a look.
He looks rock hard as well, doesn't he?
Well, this is the thing about goalkeepers. It's when Jaros came in last season, obviously he's on loan at Ajax, when he came on against Palace, you just thought, oh, he looks like a goalkeeper. And I think you get the same thing with Mamardashvili. You don't always get that with goalkeepers, and let's be honest, there's a lot of massive goalkeepers that aren't very good and small ones who are very good, so that doesn't really have anything to do with it. But in the modern game, he looks the part, and now it's just about finding out whether or not he actually is.
Yeah, I would not like to upset him, to be honest with you. I can see him doing me some serious damage, to be honest. And we've got to hope that...
Well, he'd have to join the queue, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Just as I say, if external reports are to be accurate, then it has been suggested that Alisson could be missing for Chelsea away, United at home, Frankfurt away in the Champions League, Brentford away, Crystal Palace at home in the Carabao Cup, which he probably wouldn't have played in any way.
Well, he wouldn't have played. The interesting thing there is if he's not playing and Mamardashvili is the first choice, there's every chance that Freddie Woodman plays in goal in that one.
That adds an extra twist to it, indeed. And then Aston Villa at home, Real Madrid at home, which is obviously a massive one, and then perhaps even bigger, Man City away.
Well, this is the thing. Last season, Kelleher played Real Madrid at home, Man City at home, admittedly. He played away at Leipzig in the Champions League. He played in a lot of those games because it was the same period. I think there was it Chelsea at home? I think it was. I think it may have been Chelsea at home. So it's just interesting the way that the fixtures probably aren't quite as random as people seem to think that they are. I think that's what we're learning there. But overall, yeah, going back to Alisson, again, we can only speculate because we know that Liverpool's... In fact, there's something that I found quite a lot recently, not just at Liverpool, but a lot of other clubs. They don't really like putting timescales on players coming back, unless it's like Leone, where it's obvious that he's not going to play again this season. A lot of the time, they like to keep it under wraps. So, but there's a reason why Liverpool have others teams, have these big squads. What we're seeing very more prevalent over the last couple of years is the importance of the number 2 goalkeeper. I mean, Chelsea had to play their number 2 goalkeeper last week in the league because Sanchez got sent off, didn't he, against Man United? So I think Mamardashvili, for him, it's an opportunity, and if he does well, I mean, there's never really any suggestion that he's going to stay in the team, but going forward, you think he could play in the League Cup anyway, he could play in the FA Cup, he could play some games in the Champions League, depending on how that's going. And then much further on, there is going to be a time where Alisson isn't playing for Liverpool, and whether or not he's going to be the person to replace him.
Well, it's his place to win, isn't it? At the end of the day, he hasn't. I don't think he's come here.
Well, when he signed, or just before he signed, he was talking about, "I've come here. I know how good Alisson is. I've come here to fight for a first team place," which is exactly the attitude that you want from any footballer, regardless of what position it is, but more so with a goalkeeper, because I'd imagine now I'm going to say second choice goalkeeper is one of the most frustrating positions to have in the squad, but I think third choice is now. Yeah,
third choice is definitely worse than second.
Yes.
I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
Last season, Kelleher obviously coming in for Alisson when required. Most people were pretty comfortable with that because obviously he was considered a safe pair of hands, great penalty saver, and known, and obviously been around the block at Anfield for a while in the end, even though he'd been here since he was pretty young, and people trusted him. this is a brand new goalkeeper coming in, regardless of how highly rated he is. Liverpool have been shipping goals. They've conceded 5 in the league already, I think. Oh, 7 in 6 games, sorry. So not ideal. So some of the confidence in that defence perhaps isn't exactly where it needs to be. And another goalkeeper coming is adding another dimension to that. Could that unnerve this back line a bit more than it already appears to be?
There are a couple of players who are somewhat unnerved, judging by the way that they've been playing recently. I mean, yeah, it doesn't help, does it? I mean, everybody knows what a great goalkeeper Alisson is. Definitely the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, although I did see somebody try saying David Raya, is better, which none of in that. Good keeper, but
that's nonsense.
He's not as good. Bit like the people who say Jordan Pickford. He's good, very good England goalkeeper, but I don't think he's quite on Alisson's level. What do you say, producer Ian? He says, just blind time now for him. Come on. What do you say?
You're actually asking me this question?
Yeah. I'm asking you this question, yeah. Oh, well, never mind. I'll relay what he's saying, and he's saying, yes, Ian, you're absolutely correct. Whatever you say is 100% spot on. So, yeah. It's going to... I wouldn't say it's going to massively impact them in a negative sense, but what it might do is it might make Liverpool collectively think a bit more about defending because they do have a new goalkeeper behind them. So maybe that could benefit them anyway because they've been a little bit loose. Certainly not just in defence, but in midfield and up front. It's a collective thing. I know Jurgen Klopp used to say that a lot, and Arne Slot's the same, but that is true. Going back to when you were a kid and you were watching, it started with Ian Rush up front, didn't it? You go and pressure out. And
Rush and Aldrich.
But it's not just been Liverpool. It's every team. But that they are going to Chelsea as well, which is a ground where last season they were well beaten. And I know that was I think it was the first game after they'd won the title. I do think it may force Liverpool to subconsciously think a little bit more about what they're actually doing in terms of defending.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, is
it?
You know, that defence has looked good last season, and all of a sudden everything's changed very quickly. And Ibrahim Konate has come in for a fair bit of flack, not just in the last week where we've had back-to-back defeats, but also earlier in the season. And I'm not quite sure what the cause of that is.
I mean, obviously, people are going to look at the contract situation where he's now in the last 12 months without having agreed a new deal, and someone like Rome would have sniffing around, which...
Well, he's not impressing them, is he?
Well, we don't know yet. I mean, teams like that, there's a reason why Liverpool won the league last season. It's partly because Konate was playing centre-back. There's a reason why Konate's in the France squad. There's a reason why he played in the World Cup final, came off the bench, nearly sets up a winner, actually, seems to remember. So they are all very real points for him, but the reality is, probably since March, he's just not been anywhere near as good as he has been before that. And we've spoken an awful lot about Konate, so I don't want to go too much in on him. But what we did see on Tuesday and Saturday is that he's never been the greatest with the ball, but he's been better than he used to be. But he started making silly mistakes. And Slot, to be fair, said today at his press conference, he did say, look, he wasn't the only one. I think Gravenberg lost one and where they conceded the free kick just before half-time. McAllister gave one away in the second half, and then I think there was another one, I can't remember who, but it's that they do have a player in such a key position that's seeing a lot of the ball, and unfortunately he isn't making the best use of it. I think some of the other teams have over time targeted him and said, like, well, you can have the ball because we think we can pressure into a mistake, but they'll do it every now and again, so he's not expecting it.
Is there any argument to take him out of the firing line?
Well, the argument is, yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's an interesting one because I would imagine on form, there's no way he should really be playing, but problem Liverpool have got is Leone came in for a game, looked pretty good, got injured, not going to see him again. Joe Gomez, he hasn't had a lot of minutes, and I think to be put into the team at Chelsea would be a bit of a big ask. Having said that, you would rather have a player that... I was going to say is that Van Dijk and Gomez have a good partnership. Van Dijk and Konate have a good partnership. Van Dijk and Gomez have a good partnership, so there wouldn't be any concerns there. But it's then to the right of Gomez, whether Bradley plays or Frimpong plays or Szoboszlai play, he won't be massively used to that. So it is also about the partnerships throughout the team, and I don't think Konate's mistakes... What I would say is, again, agreeing with Slot is that his mistakes have been magnified a little bit because the results weren't particularly great. So if he gives the ball away and Liverpool win 3-1 in the end, no one really talks about it. But it's that the team as a whole just aren't defending properly and not in certainly the last 2 games, not creating anywhere near enough going forward for the possession that they've got. Then that becomes a bit of a problem. But if you're going to ask me whether Konate should be playing or not, we can save that for later on when we do our teams.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the defence. I mean, you look at Liverpool's defensive problems. If only NordVPN was a centre back,
this is good, isn't it? You've taught him well.
I think we'd all be out of trouble, which is just as well as remembered because we are a few good 10 minutes into this. I've not actually mentioned our sponsor, which I must do, of course, which is NordVPN. Get on board with Nord to get the best discounts off your NordVPN plan. Go to nordvpn.com/blood red. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on a 2-year plan, which I've done a quick bit of maths, and I do believe that's 28 months. Great. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, and the link is in the podcast episode description box.
Well done.
Below.
Well done.
Okay, I think
you did well there. You were practicing it before, weren't you?
Yeah. The maths put me under a bit of pressure. Felt a bit of a sweat coming on, but I think we're okay. Just sticking with Liverpool's defence. It's not just centre-backs who've come in for a bit of grief. The fullbacks are getting it in the neck as well. Arne Slot signed 2 new fullbacks in the summer, and I think there were 2 signings that I think most people were happy with. But the bottom line is, at this point in the season, I don't think we're any clearer as to what the preferred fullbacks, both left and back, actually are. I
think what I would say on that is that I think obviously Kirkes is somebody who they've got invested in for the future, and I think they want to give him as much opportunity as possible straight away. Especially with Robertson also, he's in the last 12 months of his contract, and we're waiting to see what happens, whether he agrees another one, whether he wants to stay, or whether he fancies, trying out somewhere else, which would be fair enough. You're going to say, go on.
Well, I was going to say, sorry to interject, but I know you said he's one for the future, but they've signed for the now, really, haven't they? You know what I mean? Andy Robertson could have left in the summer. He could have said, they've signed someone to replace me. I'm, nearly out of contract. I could go and try my hand somewhere else, and no one would have, begrudged him if he'd done that. But he decided to stay and fight for his place, which is, on the face of things so far, is looking like a justified move.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say on that is that I think if Robertson had gone, Tsimikas would have stayed. So there is every chance that Kirkes is definitely coming under pressure for his place, as all of them should be. But for him, what I meant by he's for the future is because they obviously have. He's only 21, isn't he? So he's somebody who they want to integrate into the team as quickly as possible because they feel as though he can have a massive impact in the not just this season but the seasons after that. If you look at Robertson, for example, when he joined, he was barely seen in the first 2 or 3 months. Moreno was the left back. When, again, funnily enough, Moreno, who's been one to criticise him quite a lot during his Liverpool career, but for that 3 or 4 months, he was playing his best football. Then he got injured. Robertson came in, and that was kind of the end of that. That was the end of that. So I think Liverpool have made this decision not necessarily to go down that route and let Kirkes have a few months on the sidelines and see what's going on because they want him in straight away because they feel as though they don't really have the time to do that. And the other complication, as we just mentioned, that Robertson is out of contract at the end of the season, so they're probably planning on him not being there, I suspect. So why would you play a player for that amount of time? It's not like the Trent situation because obviously nobody was getting brought in to replace Trent. But on the other side, that's more interesting for me because I mentioned Trent, he's obviously gone, and we spoke about this on the podcast on Wednesday and how difficult it is to replace him. But they don't really know which is the best one at the moment. And part of that is because both Bradley and Frimpong got injured. And it takes a while to get over that. And I think it's one of just many variables that Slot hasn't been able to settle on yet. And while I don't think anybody expected him to have nailed down his first choice 11 by the first week in October, given all the changes that they'd made, I think they would have probably had a better idea in key positions because it's not not like up front where we know they're going to play Isak when he's fit, basically. And Ekitike will come in, whether to play as a number 9 or on the wing or as a second striker. A fullback, it's going to be very important, certainly in that position, because Trent was such a big player for Liverpool and around a lot. The game was built around him. And we certainly saw against Crystal Palace, there was not a width. In fact, we saw it against Galatasaray as well. Frimpong ended up playing. It was interesting because Frimpong ended up playing on the right wing to start. And Szoboszlai was right back and Bradley was on the bench. So what does that tell you what Slot thinks of his right back options at the moment? Not forever, but just at the moment. So it is something that they're going to have to address. And you go to somewhere like Chelsea, and you would not be surprised if Szoboszlai's back at right back again.
Well, yeah, that concerns me, to be honest with you. That concerns me because Szoboszlai, has probably been one of Liverpool's standout performers so far this season. Certainly one of the most consistent players. And has kind of find himself at right back. That is Arne Slot saying, regardless of who I've got in midfield, I want you in my team, as far as I'm concerned. So that's why he's gone in there and done a good job. And it's slightly alarming if he's done a better job than the actual recognised right backs.
I think that the opposition has also kind of dictated that. I think Newcastle away was never going to be a game for lots of attacking. Whereas if you look at Burnley away, I'm pretty sure Bradley didn't start and Szoboszlai was right back. But in the second half, Bradley comes on, Szoboszlai goes into midfield, and Liverpool are suddenly a lot more of a threat going forward. So I think the opposition has had a little bit to do with it. But as I say, fitness, and don't forget, again, we mentioned this quite a few times, that Bradley's still a young player. He's not played an awful lot of games in the Premier League. Frimpong's a bit different because obviously he came through City's academy. He's played at Celtic and now played at Leverkusen. And I think his is more of adapting to the style of play. So there are reasons for that. Going back to Kerkez, I think what Kerkez is having to get used to is everything being scrutinised to the nth degree, and every single kick of the ball, because you're playing for Liverpool, stuff that you did at Bournemouth where people just went, oh, well, that's hard luck. We've always got next week. His clearance, his failed clearance against Crystal Palace, where he could have hit it with his other foot. Gives away the throw-in and then they score from it. People on social media have been looking at that and going, oh, what's this? So you wouldn't have got that if you're at Bournemouth.
I was going to say, he's not being scrutinised for stuff like that on Match of the Day on a Saturday night playing for Bournemouth.
Exactly.
They might point out when he's had a good game and put a great cross in or something, which is, as non-Bournemouth fans, you get to see.
That's something that you could compare that to, certainly to our industry in the old days. If you were working for a weekly newspaper, then you went on to a regional daily, then you went on to a national, you would get scrutinised more and more because...
Which did a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, well, that's different now, yeah. But you'd get scrutinised more and more because you're going further and further up the ladder. And that's exactly what's happened to Kerkez. And, he seems, we've mentioned quite a few times, he seems a confident lad. I think he'll be fine. Liverpool obviously feel as though, as I said before, he's the one for the future. And he's just finding his feet at the moment. And don't forget, Liverpool is still top of the league. Of
course, yeah. Let's not be too knee jerk.
Yes,
two back-to-back wins.
We would never be like that.
There's a little bit of course not. There's a little bit of chattering on the YouTube chat here. Paul Lee's been out walking the dogs who are soaked. God bless him. I hope you've got a nice towel around them now, Paul, giving them a good rub down in front of the fire. Whilst
fire, it's not that cold.
Well, I'm just setting the scene here.
Right,
Come on.
Right, okay.
He might have a nice house.
Okay.
A few bits really. He's basically said with playing Robbo over Kerkez, is it experience over legs, or basically, and is Slot better going with experience at this point of the season, or do we need more energy?
Again, it depends on the game, because I think Robertson does bring energy. It's just that it's not quite as much over a very long period of time. So if you dropped him in every couple of games, I don't think that would be a problem, to be honest. But as I say, that might be something that happens a bit further down the line, because otherwise you're disrupting Kerkez's consistency of getting in the team and finding out what he should be doing and what he shouldn't be doing.
I think that's fair.
Thanks.
We've agreed on something. That's good. Paul agrees with Nabil Arif, who's basically suggested that we should play Frimpong on right back because of his better understanding with Salah than Bradley. Is that fair?
I don't know whether they've got much of an understanding or not, to be honest. They haven't really barely played together. Oh, hang on. What are we saying there? Bradley instead of Frimpong because of his better understanding. That would make more sense. Yeah. That would make more sense.
I have to apologise to Nabil. I literally missed the entire first line of his comments, and I've done Paul Lee a disservice there, who agreed with him.
Yeah.
So other way around.
Theo's not here. He's the one that two-faults everybody, and you've managed to.
Remember, this is a live show.
Anyway,
so Bradley instead of Frimpong.
That would make more sense. Yeah, I agree. That would make more sense. But again, I reckon it depends on the opponent, and also there's the fact that Frimpong is going to be playing right mid when Salah goes off to the African Cup of Nations.
Yeah, he's got a bigger role to play further down the line as well. I'm going to read one of Nabil's comments more in depth this time, i.e. all of it. He's saying drop Konate, not because of form, but because of the heavy schedule and his history of injury. That way it wouldn't be a lack of trust in him. It would be fine. We will rock on.
Rock on. Indeed.
Rock on, Tommy.
Yeah. Again,
another 80s
exactly. Just
reference.
Yes, there is. That will be a thing because after they come back for the international break, in which you assume Konate is going to play at least one of the games for France. 7 games, 3 midweek ones, all of them, as we mentioned before, very difficult, intense, and there will be some games that Konate doesn't play, and I think that's just going to have to happen now. So it may be a case of just preparing Gomez over the international break because he won't be going away with England, and just getting him ready for a bit more action. I wouldn't be surprised if he played in Frankfurt. He'd probably play against Crystal Palace, and there could be 1 or 2 other games that he plays coming up because now is the time when squads are going to get tested because we've had the first couple of weeks where they don't play many midweek games. We've had the first raft of games where the Champions League's now started. Now clocks go back, all that kind of thing. Pitches get they don't get heavier, do they? Because they're always great, but matters become a little bit more hard work because you're then getting into the nitty gritty of the season.
Well, we've scrutinised this defence within an inch of its life.
You're in the midfield now.
Let's have a look at the midfield, because that is also a bit of a meaty subject to dissect, isn't it? Liverpool's midfield last season was absolutely phenomenal. This season, it looks a little bit average at the moment. Well,
the reason for that is quite simple. It's because the main reason they won the league, in terms of changes that Slot made, was putting Gravenberch alongside Alexis McAllister as 2 deeper midfielders, and this season he's hardly been able to do it because Gravenberch wasn't available for the first 2 games, and since then McAllister's still struggling a little bit with the injury that forced him to miss out for Argentina in the summer and basically sit out the last 4 games after they won the league. So we saw from McAllister's performances the last two games. I think he started against Palace and then came on against Galatasaray. He's nowhere near the level that he used to be. He's nowhere near it, and that you don't lose your talent overnight. It's got to be fitness, and Liverpool having to cope with that because then on top of that, we're going to get onto Wirtz eventually, but he's come in as the number 10, totally different kind of player to Szoboszlai, and Szoboszlai hasn't been able to get used in midfield because he's been playing at right back. Then you have Curtis Jones coming in, who I actually thought did quite well against Galatasaray in terms of keeping the ball and moving it around, but he got massive clobber on the face as well, didn't he? Got shoved into the turf. You're right.
They were up and at it, the turf, weren't they? Let's be honest.
There hasn't been that consistency of selection in midfield. And while you could argue again, last season, I think it was against Chelsea, wasn't it, that Curtis came in and played in the number. He did the marking job on Cole Palmer. Ended up. Did he have an assist and score? He said he scored the winner. I think he may have won the penalty or won a penalty because Liverpool had one disallowed, didn't they? So he was man of the match, basically.
Yeah.
It's difficult because of those things that I've just said, but also because, and again, we've mentioned this a few times, it's hard for Wirtz because he's not getting what he would have been sold as the Liverpool midfield and the Liverpool team around him from which he can prosper because he's not had it's not his fault. He's not had the opportunity to play and that kind of thing.
Well, I think that's quite kind that he's not getting what he's been sold because I'm not 100% convinced that Liverpool have been getting what they have bought.
He's only been there for about 6 weeks, hasn't he, in terms of actual playing time. So they've been signed for 5 years. Early days.
It is on a 5-year contract. It certainly is early days. I'll come to Wirtz sort of more specifically in a moment, I think. But it's just I'm concerned about the McAllister situation because he was such an integral. Yeah. He was an integral player for Argentina when in the World Cup. Okay, and Lionel Messi's on record for that. And then last season, bar the the highlights of Salah's unbelievable goal and assist record, I think Alexis McAllister may well have been Liverpool's player of the year. And now he can't start matches, it appears. I mean, do we know anything about his injury?
Well, not really. We've not really been told, and no one knows. So it's been a bit of a strange one. Not even at Argentina, there's been no talk about it. Obviously, as far as we're led to believe, it hasn't needed a operation or anything. So it's it could be, I'm not even going to speculate. It could be anything, basically. But the fact is that because he's missed a bit of the summer and he's missed some of the games already this season, he is way off being fully fit. And a fully fit and firing Alexis McAllister, as you said, makes a massive difference to Liverpool, makes a massive difference to the players around him, which brings us back to Wirtz. And it would be interesting to see when Gravenberch and McAllister are both, well, Gravenberch's fine. In fact, he's it wasn't that long ago, a couple of weeks ago, he was basically putting in brilliant performances. When they're together again, just see what Wirtz is like. But then we mentioned Szoboszlai, and he's been Liverpool's player of the season, so he's got to get into the team of Szoboszlai. Don't forget, he's played as a number 10, he's played in part of the 2, and he's played at right back. So there's 3 positions straight off that he's played this season alone.
Well, you had McAllister out. Gravenberch missed a couple at the start. But
Curtis Jones missed a few.
Missed a few.
Yeah.
Szoboszlai playing right back. So that sort of midfield that won the league hasn't really been there.
Well, it's not. It hasn't, has it? I think there was one. I think it was Arsenal. Was it Arsenal? No, it wasn't. I'm getting confused. No, it wasn't Arsenal. It could have been Everton. Everton, where they were all together. There might have been a game. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think there's only been one game at the most, possibly 2 with the 3 of them. It must only be one because Wirtz has started almost all the other games, hasn't he? So, but then they have to get again. It's very similar to a Kirkes situation that you've obviously invested a lot of money in something. You know exactly how you want it to work. You haven't been able to get it to work yet for a number of reasons, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the player has to be taken out. Although Jamie Carragher this week said he should be, and I think you're going to say exactly the same thing.
I am.
Well, go on then.
But yeah, look, here's my issue. Right, well, look at that Galatasaray game, and I felt there's no doubt about the quality of Liverpool's players.
Yep.
You know, they have a abundance of riches in all areas of the pitch, and that includes midfield. I felt like Liverpool are not being aggressive enough. I don't want to say they're not working hard enough, but I don't think they're covering enough ground. And when other teams want to rough them up a bit, a couple of the players, Wirtz included, hasn't looked like that's a part of the game that he really wanted to get involved in. So my argument is, or my question is really, is if Alexis McAllister is not fit enough to start matches, then I understand them being out the side, no problem. Do you need to bring Szoboszlai back in there to bring that energy back into the team? There's no real sort of ball-winning dogs that you bring in to, just to try and rough things up. That's not kind of the way Liverpool is. And if you do bring Szoboszlai in, is an argument to have him in there with Jones and take Wirtz out the firing line for a game. What I'm looking at, I'm looking at Chelsea's midfield. I'm looking at Caicedo. I'm looking at Enzo Fernandez, and I'm thinking, how are we going to counteract them? Because they're probably going to have their fair share of the ball.
Yeah.
And I've got concerns that the way Liverpool are set up at the moment, it's not suiting Wirtz, and I feel like I know Galatasaray is not a Premier League team, quite aware of that, but I feel like he hasn't quite adapted to that pace of the game, and maybe we just need a couple of other people in there who know the workings of Liverpool's midfield to get that over the line.
Well, that goes back to what I was saying, wasn't it? Is that you need Gravenberch and McAllister, and you mentioned Szoboszlai, that I think Szoboszlai and Gravenberch or Szoboszlai and McAllister, it would give them a bit of a basis for Wirtz to do something, but it's not just those two. It's you mentioned the fullbacks, and there's the people out wide. Look at Salah. He's not being put into as many good attacking positions as he has been in the last couple of years, certainly last season. On the left, there's no Diaz. They've gone with Gakpo, which is fair enough. And up front, they've got someone like Ekitike, who likes to drop deep, and Isak, who only, again, we mentioned this earlier this week, he only touched the ball 4 times when he came on. Going back to Wirtz, he had a shot that was saved first half. He put Ekitike through for the one where he ran at the goal. He put a cross in for Bradley, head wide.
Yeah.
And he was the one that put the ball over the top for Isak's chance. So when you look at his overall game and you go, well, he's not quite doing what he should be doing in terms of just the general thing, and he's been knocked off the ball and he got a bit upset and angered and ended up getting booking in injury time. He still created 4 openings for Liverpool, which is exactly what he's there for. And then this stat came out during the week, didn't it? Where in terms of Premier League players creating the most amount of chances in all competitions, Verts is top with Jack Grealish, 21. So what does that prove? That statistics don't really show the full story that you see with your eyes? Or does it show that the reason that he's been brought to Liverpool, he's already producing a lot of that? It's up to the others to start putting the chances away.
Could be a bit of both. Statistics are for nerds, though, aren't they? Do you think, Ian?
Only when they don't tally to what you think just off the top of your head.
Correct. I'm more in line with Sam Rowell, one of our viewers, who says, yes, I agree with the aggression shout. Part of me hopes that Anfield can kickstart this and make us fight for every ball like we used to. Not a bad shout in some respect. I know we're away the weekend, but
the only thing I would say on that is in terms of aggression, they have scored a lot of last-minute winners and goals, and that's a different type of aggression. So
true.
They haven't really had games where they've been knocked out. Can't really count Palace, because they're the same referees who refereed the Community Shield and just didn't give Liverpool hardly any free kicks, and then Galatasaray spent most of the second half rolling around anytime anybody got near them.
That ref was diabolical, wasn't he?
Well, I wrote on Wednesday. That's Tuesday, sorry. I wrote something before the game and said, expect a pen. Expect a penalty. He's had 8 in his last 10 Champions League games, and of course he technically gave 2 in the
he did, yeah.
He gave 2, yeah.
Unfortunately, the Liverpool one definitely wasn't a penalty, as we saw from the VAR snitches.
But what do you mean people doing the job properly?
That's right, yeah. they can't help. That's what they're paid to do. You know what I mean?
The aggression shout, I can kind of see where it's coming from, but I think aggression comes. It's just I suspect that doesn't mean going around booting people up in the air. It means running after people, pressing people, harassing them, very much like Liverpool did for a large part of last season.
100%. We're not talking like a Joe Royal Dogs of War thing here, are we? We're
just slightly after your 80s things. That's 90s now. So we're getting near to the modern day.
Look, if Arne Slot wants to play 4-4-2, pump it long and just get stuck in and win the second balls, I'm down with that.
The other thing he was talking about at his press conference today was set pieces, and that we make a big running joke of Arsenal just their fans celebrate a corner as much as a goal, probably because it usually leads to a goal. So Chelsea aren't too dissimilar. Liverpool have only had 1 goal from a set piece in the Premier League this season, and that was Szoboszlai's free kick, and that doesn't really count as, I know it's a set piece, but it doesn't really count as what we get scoring from a corner kind of thing. It's like an unbelievable goal. Saying Chelsea not too dissimilar.
I like the way you've avoided the statistics on that one to suit your narrative. I'm bored with that.
That's how you do this. I think, Liverpool have just the 1. Arsenal had 7, Chelsea had 5. But from open play, it was open play. It's weird, isn't it? Because the last 2 games, Liverpool have struggled to score from open play, but they've scored more goals from open play in the Premier League than anyone apart from Man City. So it's... all that probably does is prove that Liverpool haven't got the balance right in their team and they're still searching it, because they're able to have these like wildly contrasting statistics that, then we're talking about them being not very good and they're 2 points clear at the top of the league. But again, they need to win probably. I get Chelsea to be top going into the international break because Arsenal's goal difference is
exactly, and also Arne Slot is not going to want 3 back-to-back defeats on his resume. But to that point. Chelsea are not in exactly a great position themselves, are they? They also spent a lot of money in the summer. I think they won midweek in the Champions League, didn't they? But they are without a win in their last 3 Premier League games and lost the last 2 Premier League matches. So Maresca is under pressure as well, isn't he?
He is, but I think they came out this week and said, look, we're not going to change our manager during this season. I mean, to be fair, he did win the Club World Money Cup in the summer.
The Donald Trump Trophy.
Yeah, that one. Which he still had to win it. So,
yeah. Well, they beat PSG in the final.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, to be fair, by then, PSG's players were absolutely exhausted. And it must have been about 1,000-degree heat as well. Don't know. Didn't see it. Didn't see any of it. Did you see any of it?
I watched the final.
Was that it?
And a few other games, yeah. But
there's some suggestion, isn't there, that they're going to extend it next time to have 3 English teams in, so there's a chance Liverpool might be one of them, which that still wouldn't make me want to be interested in it, to be honest. Probably less interested.
You might be contractually obliged.
Yeah,
you might have to go.
Exactly. Yeah, there is that. There is that. Maybe that's a long time off yet. But yeah, Chelsea, in terms of the pressure, yeah. I mean, it would help if they could stop getting players sent off. I mean, they've had players sent off in the last couple of games. They almost sent off in midweek as well, didn't they?
I think they did.
Yeah, they did towards the end. Yeah, but they still won that one. So weirdly, with Chelsea, with all those red cards, I don't necessarily think they have a problem with discipline. I just think they've just been making daft decisions sometimes. A bit like, Ekitike with his red card. You wouldn't say Liverpool have got a discipline problem, but that was
that was just an act of lunacy,
exactly,
wasn't it?
So
yeah, the only thing I think he's done wrong actually since he's come Ekitike, I think he's been probably the most exciting player, but the best looking signing so far out of the lot.
I thought he looked good in the first half of Galatasaray as well. He seems to kind of get it, and he's somebody that does have the physicality and the aggression. So
yeah,
that's what is needed.
Very much to Sam's point, if he's looking for more aggression in the team, he's brought that. He's been able to close down centre backs. If you're a centre back, I don't think those centre backs are enjoying playing against Hugo Ekitike. He seems to chase lost causes, gets in there, invariably seems to win them, and to throw in the mix as well is a good finisher.
Yeah.
So all the ingredients that if you were, for someone who's effectively come on to replace Darwin Núñez, I think he's so far so good that looked like a success, barring obviously his decision to take off his shirt after scoring a 1-yard tap-in
against
Southampton in the home in the second round of the Carabao Cup.
Yeah. Well, he's just excited. He was just making a score a winner for Liverpool.
They say the game's gone, but who am I to judge?
A nearly 50-year-old man is your answer.
Speak for yourself.
Going back to what you were talking about, Chelsea. Yes, our producer Ian kindly reminded me on the last podcast. I said that if Chelsea or Arsenal don't win the Premier League or the Champions League, the manager will be sacked. And yeah, I said that at the start of the summer. So I just think that's the way that Chelsea operate. And I think with Arsenal, that's be 5 years, 6 years, wasn't it? 5, 6, wasn't it? For Arteta, I think it's 6.
Yeah.
In which the last 3 he's finished second. He needs to win one of those big things because they spent an awful lot of money. Chelsea spent money, but they always seem to spend money. Probably too much in the sense of the churn of players, because you can never really work out what's what with their best team. And they've got a lot of players missing as well. Certainly a number of defenders missing for the game against Liverpool, which is why it's important then that Ekitike is back if he does make it, because it looks as though he should do.
I think Cole Palmer's out as well.
Cole Palmer's out as well, yeah. But the two that you mentioned earlier, Caicedo and Fernandes, you're right, that will be the key in that game, how Liverpool cope in that midfield, because that's kind of where they lost it last season. And Chelsea were probably, if we're being honest, Chelsea were probably the best team Liverpool played last season in terms of coming to Anfield and playing really well. Liverpool did well to get a win out of that one.
If you're Chelsea, though, and you're looking at this Liverpool team, you've got that strength in the middle of the park. But is that really how you hurt Liverpool? Because at the moment, it seems to me that Oliver Glasner has the right idea on how to hurt Liverpool, which is basically to bang it in behind the fullbacks.
Well, and that goes back to what I was saying before about statistics about set pieces, and Chelsea have had 5, I think, from dead balls, I think I said. So it's going to be a threat. Things for Liverpool, Konate should have scored the last 2 games from a corner. Should have scored. Yeah. So they do have their own threat there. They're just not taking the chances. And as we've seen increasingly this season, at least, certainly last season as well, is that it's always been important to score off dead balls, but with teams becoming more and more organised defensively with better defenders, it does become more difficult to score from open play. And if you've got good set piece takers and good strong headers of the ball, or people who know to get into the right positions, or you're well organised at set pieces, then it makes a huge difference.
We'll move on to our own sort of team selections shortly. We can't, obviously, we've spoken about the defence, attack, and goalkeeper. We're going for the full hit today. Liverpool have got a bit of an injury doubt over Ekitike. What was the sort of vibes you got off Arne Slot this morning?
The vibes probably he's going to be all right unless he has a setback in training, I think. Same with Chiesa.
He'll want him playing, won't he?
He'll want him available, yeah.
Will he start him, do you think?
We'll find out when we do the teams in a bit.
That will keep our viewers locked on for a little bit longer.
Yeah, what I would say is I think that Slot will start with Isak, I think he obviously needs to get more minutes under his belt. And I think he's scored a few goals against Chelsea, so that would be a benefit.
Federico Chiesa has been winning plaudits recently. missed out midweek. Now he's back in the Champions League squad.
Yeah.
That didn't take long, did it?
It wasn't his fault.
Well, exactly. But obviously he couldn't play midweek, but it looks like he might be all right for the weekend. Any arguments to be made there for? Can he only play one position, or could he be trusted in other?
I think he could play in a couple of positions, but I think they're all got people in them. At the moment, I think he's proven more and more a good sub to bring on. And as I've said previously, I think we're not far off. If he keeps fit and he keeps doing that he could become a starting option in the Premier League. Okay,
well, without further ado, then let's crack on and pick our starting 11s. So,
goalkeeper first.
I'm going to go with the goalkeeper then.
Yeah, I think we know what we're going to say.
I've selected Mohamed Dashvili in goal.
Here. Yeah,
incredible. Yeah. So we've got that one nailed. He's locked in.
He's definitely locked in. Yeah.
Let's have you. I'll tell you what, I'll give you my back four.
Go on then.
I'll give you my back four.
Gives me time to think.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's only fair after a stitch with the goalkeeper.
Yep.
So I've decided I'm keeping faith with Konate. So I've got a back four of Bradley, Konate, Virgil van Dijk, and Andy Robertson. I've gone for a bit of grit and stability, basically.
Yeah, I think Robertson will play as well. The big debate is whether or not I put Gomez. I say big debate in my head. Is whether to put Gomez at right back.
Ooh,
but
another right back.
Exactly, yeah. Endo's played right back as well. A couple of minutes this season. I think I would go with Bradley for this one. So Bradley, Konate, Van Dijk, and Robertson. So same as you, basically.
It's 5 each at the moment, all the same. So, all right, well, we'll stick with you then for your midfield, because this is where it's going to get interesting.
Well, Gravenberch's playing. McAllister, I think he'll want to play in this one because he'll be up against his fellow Argentine and his former Brighton teammate as well. So I think he'll want to play in this one, McAllister, because he missed out last season. And in that other position, I'm going to go with Szoboszlai for this one.
So we've got Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai.
Yeah.
Okay. I would really like to pick that midfield. That would be my first choice midfield.
So why haven't you?
Because we can't have everything the same, can we?
Yeah, we can. Yeah,
we can.
Yeah, we'll do it then.
No. I would really like to pick McAllister. I'm worried about the fitness issue. I don't really know what his injury is, and I don't feel any more enlightened at this point as to what it is. So why? I suppose you could argue. I'm trying to talk myself out of it now. You could argue that didn't play as much midweek because he's been saved for this. There is that argument, isn't there? But I've left him out at the moment. But I definitely want Szoboszlai back in that midfield. And I've handed. I don't normally pick Curtis Jones, but I have for this one.
So which position is he playing in? One of the two.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've got Gravenberch and Jones as your sort of your deeper midfielders. Try and keep control of the situation there, and then Szoboszlai running around.
Well, I would agree with you. If McAllister's not fully fit, that's what I'd do as well.
Yeah. Yep. So there's no Florian Wirtz in there.
Nope. Or is he on the left?
Feature,
or is he on the left?
Does he feature anywhere else?
I'll go first.
Go.
No. So I'm gonna go. It's a tough. I think I'm gonna go Salah, Ekitike, and Gakpo. The only other thing I might have done is put Salah, Isak, and Ekitike, but I don't think Ekitike is quite ready to play on the left wing. It's sitting on against Chelsea, so I go with that.
So yeah, that is interesting because not 2 minutes ago, I'm pretty sure you said you were going to play Isak.
Yeah, I've changed my mind. That's why.
You've changed your mind.
Yeah, that's my prerogative.
You're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
This is what live shows are all about. The boring thing is I have selected the same 4 and 3. So I had Ekitike through the middle. Isak still, well, basically, I was going to say Isak's still not quite ready, but the bottom line is Ekitike is the informed striker.
Yeah.
So it's actually, as long as he's fit, I think it's a fairly easy decision to put him in there. You could, yes, there is a little argument, could you put him on the left-hand side? I've gone with Gakpo, who I don't think is pulling up any trees, but he has been a bit of a steady Eddie.
Yeah. And he gives them width as well, doesn't he, which they missed against Palace. You could tell that the minute he come on.
Yeah, and obviously we no longer have Diaz to do that, and I don't see him starting Ryan Moa in a game of this magnitude. It's
Well, it would be against his former club.
It would be, yeah. Would he get booed?
That's an interesting one, actually.
If anyone would boo a 17-year-old, it would be Chelsea.
Like to think they wouldn't. Having said that, Fulham fans booed Harvey Elliott. I think, well, I'm not sure whether he was what age he was when he ended up playing against them, but I think if he'd have been 16 or 17, they'd have booed him anyway.
Actually, there was quite a bit of animosity about Moa leaving for Liverpool, wasn't there?
Again, Elliott was a little bit the same. So.
Well, if Rory McIlroy can get heckled for playing golf in a country where he lives, then I'm sure Moa can probably get booed.
Come on, we don't need to go down that road. You know our thoughts on that. Well, I don't want to say anything. Anyway, score prediction.
That's a different
score
podcast.
Prediction.
Score. I hadn't made the prediction. So
well, then I'll give you some time. I'm going to go with any result that sees Liverpool not lose will be good. I'll go with 2-2.
Okay. I am going to put a vote of confidence in Mamadashvili.
Mm-hmm. Mamadashvili, yeah.
Him.
Yeah. The Georgian lad.
Yeah. I want to say a Liverpool win, and I think we need a response from 2 defeats on the trot. So I'm going to go with 2-1.
2-1
to Liverpool. Yeah. Stop the rot before it starts.
Very good.
Yeah.
And we can stop this podcast before it starts.
I think it's too late for that, mate. That is out in the information Super Steve Highway. Yeah. Super Steve Highway.
Now you are showing your age again.
You ruined my pun line, but don't worry about
it. Don't worry. You'll get another chance in about 6 months.
Okay, so you'll be 6 months.
Yeah, 6
very
days.
confident.
6 days, yeah.
So you'll be at Stamford Bridge?
No, I'm not.
You're not going?
No, I'm not going. I'm playing a charity gig in my band.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Windle Social Club in St Helens.
Tickets
sold out though, so you can't go.
Oh,
unless you want to stand outside and listen to us.
Is it on Sky?
It's TNT. No, it's Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Another subscription.
Nobody's got that.
So Paul Gorst be in the hot seat.
He will be. Yes, he'll be joined by our colleague Mark Jones for that one. They will be providing all the informations and scorelines and updates from Stamford Bridge tomorrow.
Excellent. A very happy birthday to Paul Gorst as well.
Yesterday.
It was yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, that's sort of still his birthday celebrations.
I don't think he looks 45. Do you?
Well, probably because he's not. Well, 45 foot.
Yeah. That's
but Paul Gorst joined the 40 club, didn't he? So he can.
Did he?
Yeah. He's
not that old.
I think he's past.
No, I don't think he is. I think you've put a few years on him there.
Have I really?
Yeah, you actually have.
Maybe I misread that on.
Anyway, I think you need to end this. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, happy birthday to Gorsty anyway. Maybe he's not quite in the IPA drinking sector yet with me and Ian, but fair enough. Ian, it's been a marvellous chat.
Has it?
I think, well, it has for me.
Thank you.
At least. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did. I always enjoy these podcasts, as our producer knows.
Well, we've got a lovely studio now, haven't we? So, that budget hasn't been wasted.
No.
That's all from me, Richard Garnett. Thanks for having us. Thank you to Ian Doyle. Producer Ian, thanks for everyone on the chat as well. You've been listening or watching the Blood Red podcast. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you soon.